One cup of English.
Real English for real life.
Do you ever pretend you know exactly where you're going when you are completely and totally lost?
Or spend 15 whole minutes walking around a supermarket instead of just asking one employee where something is.
Or catch maybe 3 words of what somebody said to you and still smile and nod like, yep, totally got that, 100%.
Or need help in English, but suddenly feel like asking is somehow more embarrassing than just quietly suffering through it?
Yeah, this podcast is for you.
Hi, I'm Jason.
And I'm Sophia. And if any of that felt painfully familiar just now, leave a like and subscribe if you want real English for real human situations.
Because these episodes are basically made for people whose brain completely stops working the second another human being looks at them.
Especially in English.
You know what's actually strange about this? Asking for help is a tiny thing. Most of the time, it's literally one sentence. Something like, "Excuse me, could you help me for a second?" That's it. But somehow your brain treats that moment like you're about to perform a solo concert in front of 1,000 people.
Because the real problem isn't the help itself, it's the feeling around it. The second you need help in English, your brain starts running 100 questions all at the same time. What if I say it wrong? What if they don't understand me? What if I sound awkward? What if I'm bothering them? And suddenly, one small, simple question starts feeling emotionally enormous.
Exactly. And the worst part is, you already know that asking would solve the problem immediately. I once spent almost 20 minutes trying to buy a train ticket from the wrong machine because I was too embarrassed to ask the employee who was standing right next to me the entire time.
That is painfully real. And I think so many English learners do things like that every single day. Not because they can't speak English, but because they panic for 1 second and suddenly everything feels 10 times harder than it actually is.
Yes, that panic changes everything. Your English can actually be completely fine, but the moment you start overthinking, your brain just stops cooperating with you.
Honestly, I think a lot of people believe that language learning is mostly vocabulary and grammar. But when you actually start speaking to real people in real situations, you quickly realize how emotional it is too. It's embarrassment, it's overthinking, it's trying not to look stupid. It's nodding and smiling when someone explains something because you're scared to ask them to repeat it again.
Because people aren't just translating words during a conversation, they're also trying to survive socially at the exact same time. And that's why even the simplest situation can suddenly feel completely overwhelming.
And then, 2 hours later, your brain suddenly remembers the perfect sentence.
Always later, never in the actual moment. Usually when you're in the shower or lying in bed trying to fall asleep.
Yes, your brain becomes suddenly fluent the moment the conversation is already long over.
And honestly, I think realizing this one thing helps a lot. Most people around you probably have awkward moments too. They just hide them better than you think.
Okay, so let's actually make this easier. Because there are phrases that immediately make asking for help sound calm and natural. And the good news is, they're not complicated at all.
One of the best ones is, "Excuse me, could you help me for a second?" I really love this phrase because it sounds polite, relaxed, and friendly right away. Native speakers use something like this constantly in every kind of situation.
And there's something important about that sentence that people don't always notice. It buys you time emotionally. You're not trying to explain your whole problem immediately. You're just opening the door to the conversation, one small step at a time.
Exactly. And that's why having one safe phrase ready in your head helps so much. When people panic, the brain automatically searches for familiar language first. So instead of trying to build the perfect sentence from zero in a stressful moment, you already have one ready and waiting.
Another really useful one is, Sorry, could you show me one more time? This phrase is brilliant when someone explains directions too quickly, or when your brain catches the very first sentence and then just completely disappears for a moment.
That happens way more often than people are willing to admit.
And honestly, phrases like these make the whole conversation feel softer because they sound calm and natural, not like panic. They sound like someone who is paying close attention and simply wants to understand clearly.
And one more that's incredibly useful in everyday life. I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Could you say it again, a little more slowly? Simple, polite, and completely normal to say.
You know what nobody tells English learners often enough?
What?
Most people are genuinely, actually happy to help.
Seriously?
When someone politely asks me for help, I'm not judging their grammar. I'm not sitting there thinking, oh, their accent is a bit off, or they used the wrong tense. I'm just thinking, okay, how can I help this person right now?
Nobody normal is standing there analyzing your mistakes. That is just not what's happening in their head.
And honestly, native speakers ask people to repeat things all the time, too.
All the time. Directions, instructions, phone numbers, addresses, everything. Real conversations are messy, and people misunderstand each other constantly.
The difference is, native speakers don't think that misunderstanding someone means they failed as a human being.
Oof, that one is real.
That one is very real.
Okay, we want to hear from you.
What's the most awkward situation where you needed help in English, but were just too nervous to ask?
I'll go first. I once stood at a cash register for 2 full minutes because I didn't know how to ask, "Is this the queue?" And I just stood there, silently hoping someone would figure it out for me.
I walked out of a restaurant once without ordering anything because the menu was confusing and I was too scared to ask the waiter. True story.
Almost everyone learning a language has a story like that. And if you do too, drop it in the comments. You're definitely not alone. One last thing before we go.
Asking for help is not weakness.
It's communication.
And communication is messy sometimes for everybody, not just English learners.
You are allowed to ask again. You are allowed to need help. You are allowed to sound human.
Take care of yourselves.
We'll see you next time.